The Confederates, at the beginning of the war, controlled the Mississippi River. That's the spinal river of the country, the most important river in the country. Tremendous amounts of Midwestern commerce from places like Chicago, pork from Chicago, Cincinnati, places like this, wheat, bacon, etc., goes down that river. So that has to be open. The river has to be open. And Grant saw that was a way to conquer the South. And there were all these little spots along the river, these forts that the Confederates built. And the whole objective of the campaign was to send gunboats down there, ironclad gunboats. We have them, the South doesn't. They have very few of them. They're a new invention. Ironclad warships existed in, just before this, but not like this, not ships quite as large, and not ironclad ships that had the ability to operate in shallow water, in bayous and places like that. They had very little displacement. There's gigantic monoliths. You combine armies with the Navy, you go downriver, you go down the Tennessee River, you go down the Cumberland River, you go down the Mississippi River, and you knock off one place at a time. Columbia, Kentucky, further down the river, Memphis, until there's only one place left in 1863, and that's Vicksburg. Vicksburg is a much stronger city. If you take Grant in 1861 and Vicksburg in 61, Vicksburg's pretty insignificant, and Grant's pretty insignificant. But they both grow in power and consequence through the war. And so I'm trying to tell a story of a town that becomes as important as Richmond to the Confederacy, and a general that goes from nothing to about the best we have at the time. And how, when they meet, they're both at their apogee. Vicksburg as a citadel city, and Grant as a type of general who now has the moxie, the perspicacity, the courage, the elan, the strategic vision to take a place like that. All over the South, everyone said, this little town's holding on against these Yankees. This tremendous concentration of naval power can't take out this little town. And it becomes a symbol of rebel resolve. But I'll tell you the irony. The longer they held out, the worse they were. Because Grant's army has all these expeditions trying to take the city. And as they do, they tromp through these swamps, flatlands, everywhere else, all over Louisiana and Mississippi. And they destroy plantation culture. They burn barns. They shoot hound dogs. They shoot whipping posts. They destroy whipping boats. They free tens of thousands of slaves, and gone. By the time Vicksburg falls, before it even falls, there ain't no slavery in Mississippi. It's gone, and Grant's killed it. Well, the reason I was excited about Vicksburg also was because it's a liberation story. And I had never seen it like that. Never seen it. I had written 3 books on military history, but it was never bullet by bullet stuff. I was always interested in the social aspect of the side, why people fight. Okay. What goes on in men's minds under combat and things like that? How do you control fear and things like that, the psychological stuff? And I wanted to get into the psychological things about this. And I thought, what's on the mind of every Southerner? What's dancing in their minds? It's their slaves, it's slavery, it's everything. It's a civilization based on slavery. And I thought, wait a minute, Grant's warring on slavery there. If you got a city under siege and you're destroying, a lot of plantations by then had switched from cotton to corn. If you're destroying corn and the things people eat and are being shipped into the city to sustain the siege, you're making that siege ever more effective. So it all seemed to come back to that. It all seemed to be about slavery. And I wanted to know, too, why kids without slaves fought so hard. When they were getting exploited economically by the large plantation owners that they were trying to defend. And I try to puzzle that out in the book as well.